The stars above Helion Prime shimmered like a million watchful eyes, judging every empire gathered below. The Galactic Coalition Summit, the largest assembly of intelligent species in known space, was meant to be a symbol of peace. A final step toward unified command against the rising abyssal threat, devouring systems at the edge of the galaxy. Instead, it had become a courtroom, and humanity was the accused. Dr. Zayne Voss stood perfectly still in the central forum, the eyes of 40 alien species boring into him. He kept his breathing level, but his heart hammered like artillery fire. His dark Terran uniform contrasted sharply with the shimmering robes and scaled armor of the delegates around him. They think we're children, he thought. Dangerous, unpredictable children. From the high dais, the coalition chair, a towering, tentacled Gierak named Verun, slammed his gavel. Humanity's case will be heard now. Silence washed through the chamber. Admiral Krell of the Variks, all jagged armor and glowing yellow eyes, stepped forward with predatory intent. The evidence is clear, he hissed, his translator smoothing his voice into chilling calm. Humans are too reckless, emotional, and volatile to be trusted with command authority. They start wars when diplomacy fails. They sacrifice logic for hope. They act irrationally. Soft murmurs from the alien crowd, agreement, disdain, mistrust. Zayne did not flinch. His job wasn't to show anger or pride. His job was to win the psychological war, without letting them know the war had begun. Krell continued, human fleets will no longer be permitted to hold leadership roles. They will fight only under the guidance of more stable minds, a blade disguised as diplomacy, a humiliation delivered in public. Zayne's fists tightened behind his back. He looked up into the starlit dome. This can't just be an accident, he thought. Someone gave humanity this fire. This will. He inhaled deeply. Emotion is not a weakness. Emotion is what keeps us alive. Verun gestured coldly. Dr. Zayne Voss, you may speak for Earth. Zayne stepped forward, into the center of the galaxy's judgment. He didn't speak loudly. He didn't need to. You condemn us for feeling, he began. But when your colonies fall and your armies break, who do you call? He let the silence answer for him, because the silence remembered. For centuries, Zayne continued, humans have survived extinction by refusing to accept it. Fear made us cautious. Anger made us fierce. And hope? He looked each alien in the eyes. Hope is why we still exist, Krell scoffed. Pretty speeches do not change psychology. Your species lets passion override logic. You are a danger to yourselves and to others. Zayne's voice softened, not weak but sharp as a scalpel. Yes, we cry. We fear, we love. We rage. He stepped closer. And that is why we win. A ripple of discomfort moved through the room. The Variks Admiral's mandibles twitched. Agitation. Your emotions, Zayne said, terrify you. Ours empower us. The tribunal erupted in arguments, translation devices struggling to keep pace with shouting. The summit was fracturing. Fast a glimmer from Zayne's wrist caught his eye, a silent pulse on his neural implant. Signal received, operation status. Standby. Zayne's jaw tightened. The Psych Corps was ready. He had hoped diplomacy would work, but the galaxy had made its decision. Then, humanity will make theirs. Verun pounded the gavel again. This session will recess while we deliberate. He never finished. The great chamber trembled, a low, resonant hum shaking the walls. Security shields flickered. Defense turrets retracted unexpectedly. Alarms screamed. Krell spun, his armor crackling. What is this? Zayne didn't smile. But he wanted to. Helion Prime's skies flashed. An aurora of electronic warfare igniting across the horizon. Data streams surged like rivers of light, infiltrating alien systems with invisible precision. Every alien comms device blinked, glitched, then died. Across the galaxy, coalition war fleets received thousands of false orders. Retreat from the front lines, power down weapon systems. Report catastrophic engine failures, request medical evacuations, an elegant chaos. Zayne's voice remained calm. As chief of Terran Psychological Operations, he said, it was my duty to prepare a defense if negotiations failed. Krell's glowing eyes widened with fury. You dare attack us? Attack? Zayne tilted his head. No, just a reminder. He stepped closer, voice low. Controlled rage wrapped in velvet. You declared us too unstable for war, too emotional for command. He leaned in. So tell me, Admiral, how does it feel to lose fleets without a single shot fired? All around them, alien leaders stared in horror at malfunctioning holograms and collapsing data feeds. Zayne placed a hand over his heart. Not luck. Never. Luck. Someone wanted us to survive. Someone wanted humanity to be ready for this moment. Lines from his childhood surfaced. When you look at the stars, remember they were placed there with purpose. Krell snarled. Turn off your virus now or you are not in command here, Zayne interrupted. Not anymore. Silence again, but this time, they were listening. Zayne turned to the tribunal. Emotion isn't weakness, it's our weapon. It makes us unpredictable, unstoppable. You tried to shame us for being human. His eyes hardened. We use what we are. The summit's starfield dome flickered, now displaying every alien fleet drifting helplessly in space, paralyzed by human code. Zayne stepped back. You wanted proof? There it is. For the first time in hours, his heartbeat slowed. He breathed in, breathed out. His faith and resolve steadied him. This is who we are, children of will, children of purpose, children of God, and the galaxy. Just remembered. For a moment, no one breathed. The chamber was lit only by the flickering holographic screens, each one showing a different battlefield millions of kilometers away, now frozen under human control. Entire armadas drifting like stunned beasts in an invisible trap, and Dr. Zayne Voss stood calmly in the center of it all. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. Your fleets aren't harmed, he assured, eyes sweeping over the alien council, just grounded. Think of it as persuading you to listen. Several alien delegates recoiled, as if listening to a predator disguised in a suit. Admiral Krell's mandibles clicked rapidly. A Varric sign of panic. You have overstepped every diplomatic. Zayne cut him off with nothing but a raised eyebrow. One human, armed only with emotion and intellect, just neutralized the most powerful coalition fleets in known space. His voice resonated like a verdict. Ask yourselves, who here is unfit for command? The silence that followed was not peaceful. It was fear learning respect. Zayne's neural implant buzzed again, a message on the secure. Terran Channel Psych Ops Phase 2, awaiting authorization. He breathed deeply. Not yet. There was still hope for reason, if they choose it. The coalition chair. Varun shifted his colossal mass, tentacles tensing. What do you believe you gained from this? Zayne met the alien's cold, many-eyed stare. A chance, he said softly, for you to stop underestimating humanity before it's too late. Before the abyssal threat consumes us all. He didn't say aloud. He studied the dozens of species gathered, each one convinced they understood intelligence, logic, strategy, survival. But they didn't understand humans, not truly. A young Alluvian ambassador with crystalline skin spoke tentatively. You fight wars with feelings. We fear those who fight with passion, for passion blinds. Zayne nodded, almost gently. Passion blinds the foolish, he agreed. But it guides the brave. He paced slowly, hands behind his back, the way every Terran commander learned to walk under pressure. Fear tells us what we stand to lose. He paused. Love tells us what we refuse to lose. He leaned against the tribunal railing. And hope? His expression softened. Hope is the only thing that makes survival worth the pain. A hush, many. Aliens didn't understand hope, not the way humans had been forced to. Therak of the Silex, an elder strategist, tilted his head. You believe your faith makes you stronger? Faith. The word hit like a memory. Zayne's gaze drifted upward, past the domed glass into the unfathomable star ocean beyond. So many stars, he whispered. Too many to be an accident. Not a speech, not a plea, just truth. His father once told him, when the odds say you should be dead and yet you live, that's not luck, that's purpose. Zayne continued, voice quiet but unbreakable. We carry something inside us, something that says not today when logic says surrender, something that pushes us to survive, even when survival seems impossible. He knew the Psych Corps was listening. He knew Earth's Admiralty was watching. He knew the galaxy was. Judging emotion was not decoration. Emotion was the arsenal that kept humanity breathing. Suddenly, Krell slammed a claw against the table. A crack of metal on metal. You threaten us with unseen weapons and call it diplomacy? You are unstable. You admit it. Zayne turned slowly. No fear, only calculation. You call us unstable. We call it being alive. Krell's armor flared, lights arcing dangerously. The Variks did not debate. They attacked. He lunged. The security fields flickered. The Variks' claws missing Zayne by inches. Delegates screamed. Energy barriers surged back online. Krell was thrown violently backward into a containment lock. Zayne didn't move. He didn't blink. When he finally spoke, his tone was grave. That is instability. Varun stared at him, voice rough with dawning comprehension. You wish to provoke the Variks into revealing their intent. It wasn't a wish, Zayne replied. It was a prediction. Psychological warfare was not about breaking enemies. It was about helping them reveal the truths they already carried. Zayne received another signal. Phase 2, initiated by Fleet Command Directive, maintain control. Avoid escalation. Someone on Earth believed diplomacy still had a pulse. Zayne wasn't as optimistic. He addressed the room. We don't want control of your fleets. We don't want your power. We want the right to fight beside you, not behind you. He stepped fully into the center. No podium, no armor, just a human, heart bared for the galaxy to inspect. You think our emotions make us dangerous? He placed a hand over his chest. They make us defenders, protectors. They make us turn weakness into strategy, pain into progress, and loss into fury. He looked to the imprisoned Krell. You fear us because you fight to win. His voice dropped to a whisper. We fight to survive, and survival was always a stronger instinct. Zayne's implant buzzed, a private channel. His second-in-command's voice whispered, Dr. Voss. Abyssal incursions detected on the rim. They've begun. Zayne's breath paused. There it was, the true enemy, the devourer, the void that unmade galaxies. He replied only in thought. Understood. He turned back to the tribunal. You need us. He swept a hand toward the flickering battle displays. You need the ones who will still be fighting. When every calculation says the war is lost, aliens exchanged glances, some defensive, some shaken. Zayne inhaled. Time for the final push. If you declare humanity unfit for command once more, he let the sentence hang. Then when the abyss reaches your world, you will beg for those willing to feel fear, because fear keeps you alive. A long silence. Then Therak spoke, voice low. You claim emotion is a weapon? Zayne nodded. No. He locked eyes with the entire council. It's every weapon. There it was. The shift. Understanding. And fear entwined. Suddenly, a soft chime echoed through the hall. Incoming transmission origin. Unknown. Encryption. Impossible. Holograms reactivated, but not under Zayne's control. A single message blinked across all displays. We see you, we are coming. The abyss had heard everything, and they were answering. Zayne felt the chill. Not fear. Clarity. He whispered under his breath. Not luck. Someone wanted me to live? Then he straightened, eyes burning with righteous fire. If you think humanity is a threat, he pointed to the message. Wait until you meet the real enemy. The council recoiled, dread crashing into them like a wave. Zayne raised his chin defiantly. And when that war truly begins, you will follow us. Dr. Zayne Voss stood in silence as the alien council panicked over the abyssal message. But his mind drifted far away from the chaos, back to Earth, back to a night that defined him. The boy Zayne stood barefoot on a rusted catwalk, staring at the broken hulks of old starships waiting to be dismantled. Beside him, a large man with oil-stained hands and soft, weathered eyes adjusted a small telescope. His father, Jonas Voss, and was not a soldier, not a scholar, just a ship mechanic who loved two things, fixing what others threw away. Looking at the stars with wonder, Zayne tugged his sleeve. Dad, why do you always look up? Jonas smiled, the kind of smile that came from a soul that had seen hardship and chose hope. Anyway, because everything down here tries to tell you what you can't be. He lifted the telescope toward the heavens, but when you look up, you see what you might be. Zayne tried to look, but the sky blurred in the cheap lens. It just looks like dots. Jonas knelt beside him, placing a gentle hand on the boy's chest. One day, you'll see more. Because those stars, he tapped Zayne's heart, talk to the part of you that refuses to quit. Zayne frowned, childish doubt sharp. And what if everything up there just wants to kill us? That's what the news says. His father didn't laugh. He didn't dismiss the fear. Instead, his voice turned quiet. Firm. Rooted in something deeper. Son, this universe is too carefully designed to be blind chaos. He looked at the stars again, reverent. A creator put them there. Zayne blinked. A creator? Jonas nodded. Call him God. Call him the One. Call him the mind behind everything. He straightened slowly, spine aching from years of labor. Everything has a purpose. Even you, the boy hesitated. What purpose? His father ruffled his hair. To help others remember theirs. They stayed there, listening to the wind rattle the derelict ships like tired giants trying to breathe. Jonas whispered, when your fear tells you you'll die. He placed a hand over his own heart. Faith will tell you you're alive for a reason. Zayne absorbed every word like oxygen. Then, without warning, a shipyard crane malfunctioned overhead. A groan of metal, scream of twisting steel. Jonas shoved Zayne aside just as several tons of machinery came crashing, down light, heat, pain, darkness. When Zayne opened his eyes, he was alive. His father was beneath the wreckage, crushed, breathing, barely. Zayne crawled to him sobbing, Dad, I'll get help. Don't close your eyes. Jonas smiled again, and this time through agony. You lived. A whisper. Sacred. Someone wanted you to live. Zayne grabbed onto his father's hand. Please don't go. Jonas used his last breath not to plead, but to give. Whatever happens, you keep looking up. His hand fell limp. The stars above seemed to pulse, like they were watching. Zayne didn't scream. He didn't collapse. He just stared into that infinite sky and made a promise. Blink. Zayne's father's voice faded back into memory as the holographic displays returned to frenetic motion. Alarms, panic, alien. Diplomats shouting in fear. He stood perfectly. Still, emotion was not his weakness. It was the source of his control. Varun pointed a trembling tentacle toward the incoming threats. What does that message mean? Who are they? Zayne answered without hesitation. The abyss doesn't conquer. It erases. He stepped closer to the council. And they know you're afraid. He pointed to his symbol. The sigil worn by every member of Terran Psych Corps, a heart wrapped in a neural circuit. You think we are unstable because we feel fear? He gave a cold half-smile. We weaponize it. Aliens stared, awe mixing with terror. Zayne's implant pulsed again. A direct feed from Earth Command. Psych Corps directive. Protect all life. No casualties. You were born for this. The word struck deeper than any order ever had, he whispered. Barely audible. Looking up, Dad. Suddenly, Krell, the Varix admiral still trapped in the containment field, hissed through bloodied mandibles. You are reckless. Emotional, not flawed. Zayne turned slowly, like a judge ready to deliver sentence. And you are predictable. He tapped a control on his wrist. The containment field did not strengthen. It opened. Everyone gasped. Krell froze, confused. Zayne stepped closer, unarmed. You want to know why humans lead? His voice was a lethal calm. Because we are the ones who step forward without knowing if we'll survive. Krell's claws twitched dangerously, then lowered. A warrior's submission. In that moment, every alien in the room understood. Humans did not command through rank or weaponry or logic. They commanded through belief. Belief that survival had meaning. Zayne faced the council again. My father died so I could live. I refuse to waste that gift by standing down now. He extended his hand, not in domination, but in alliance. Fight beside us, or watch the abyss tear this galaxy apart. Silence. Not fear. Respect. Therak, elder strategist, breathed shakily. You speak as though something guides you. Zayne looked up, toward the infinite night beyond the glass dome. Something does, not science alone, not emotion alone. Purpose given by the one who wrote stars into existence. Alarms blared again, the threat growing. Closer. Zayne clenched his fists, eyes burning with a righteous fire. Prepare. Your fleets. He turned his gaze toward the darkness stalking the edges of known space, and tell the abyss. A quiet, deadly promise. Humanity is coming. The tribunal chamber trembled. At first it was subtle, a vibration beneath the floor like a heartbeat gone wrong. Half the council assumed it was the tension eating at their nerves, but Zayne Voss knew better. A darkness was moving closer. From orbit above the gas giant Venthera 9, sirens wailed through the station's infrastructure. Red emergency glyphs flashed across the holographic display. RIM defense net. Compromised unknown contacts breaching gravity well threat level. Omega aliens scrambled, some shouting commands, others frozen by primal terror. Zayne stood calm as a soldier in prayer. His father once told him, "When fear rises, rise higher." The main holoscreen flickered, then stabilized, revealing the source. Not ships, not fleets, not anything that belonged to creation. These were void serpents of living gravity, devouring the starlight around them. They slithered through space like hunger given form. Where they passed, hulls decomposed into dust and matter undone. Coalition Admiral Veyron choked out the words. "What are those things?" Zayne answered, voice flat with deadly certainty. "The abyss, they unmake what God made." The chamber froze. Thirak whispered through trembling mandibles. "They erase existence?" "Yes, when they are here." Chaos erupted. Diplomats pushed, shoved, trampled. Alarms screamed. Security bots rolled in, weapons primed. Zayne slammed a fist against the central command console. "Stop running." His shout was not amplified, it was felt, all eyes locked on him. "You can panic later. Right now, you fight." Admiral Krell, newly freed from the containment field, stepped forward unexpectedly. "Enough talk. Give us weapons. Let us defend ourselves." Zayne nodded once. Respect earned. He opened the neural command panel. A system humans were forbidden to operate under coalition law. Warnings flashed. Authority violation, human command override. Locked Zayne didn't ask permission. He took it. A single command input. Terran Psych Ops. Emergent control code. Voss Omni 1, the console scanned his biometrics, heart rate, neural activity, the entire definition of who he was. A final prompt appeared. "Do you believe survival is possible?" Yes, no. Zayne's lips curled. Belief wasn't optional. It was the mission. He hit yes all across the station, and the fleets immobilized in orbit, systems rebooted under Terran authority. Human neural strategy, net online command transfer. Dr. Zayne Voss, Allied defensive protocols initiated. Ship lights flickered on like a galaxy waking up. Alien officers stared in disbelief. "You can control our fleets?" Veyron asked. "No," Zayne replied, stepping forward as interface halos surrounded him. "I can guide you to control them yourselves." He projected tactical nodes onto every display on patterns not of brute force but of psychological warfare. "Fear is their weapon," he explained. "But fear can be redirected." He pointed to the serpents of void closing in. "They think you've already surrendered." He tapped his temple. "So let's make them doubt." From orbit, the view was biblical. Mechs of living darkness descended through the atmosphere, shrieking without sound, their presence alone bending physics. Coalition warships shuddered back into motion. Reluctantly, clumsily at first as alien crews panicked, Zayne activated fleet-wide comms. "Do not waste fire. Target their thought." He synchronized their minds through the neural strategy net. Billions of neurons linked in purpose. His own pulse became the rhythm of the fleet. Missiles launched, not guided by tracking systems, but by the courage to fight. The abyssal creatures recoiled, confused. Alien Admiral Veyron gasped, "You're making them hesitate." Zayne nodded. If a monster thinks its prey can bite back, it stops chewing. But one serpent dove faster, then flame, straight toward the habitat domes filled with civilians. Zayne swore under his breath. "Not today." He reconfigured shield arrays into a single focused barrier. something the tech was not designed to do. Therak protested. That much energy will overload. It will hold, Zayne cut in. Because it must. The serpent struck the shield. A violent detonation of light. Systems overloaded, walls cracked. Gravity faltered. Zayne clenched his jaw, absorbing. The shock threw the neural link. Pain flashed like lightning through his skull. He staggered, blood from his nose, but refused to drop. Krell stared, stunned. You're taking the damage for us. That's leadership, Zayne snarled, pushing power into the grid. The serpent recoiled, fractured by resistance it had never known. For the first time in its existence, the abyss felt pain. A power conduit exploded nearby, throwing shrapnel. Zayne twisted, too slow, but a shimmering barrier formed around him. An Alluvian ambassador, crystalline, skin glowing, knelt in focus. You protected us, he said, breathlessly. It is our turn. Zayne blinked through the pain. In that moment, unity, different species, different worlds, same purpose. He glanced upward, a whisper in his heart. Someone wanted me to live, someone wants us all to live. No sermon, no ritual, just belief. Born from survival. Zayne reconnected to the command. Grid, listen to me, he broadcast across fleets and corridors and terrified minds. We are not dying today. The neural net throbbed, fear transforming into determination. Focus not on what the abyss is. He pointed to the stars beyond, but on what you still have to protect. A pulse of strategy information surged through every ship. Flank the void serpents, overwhelmed with simultaneous emotion spikes. Show them you are willing to fight harder than they can consume. Coalition fleets executed perfectly, like a single living organism. The serpent screamed, a sound that shattered glass and sanity, and retreated into the clouds of the gas giant. For now, the chamber trembled into stillness. Breathing returned. Screams faded into silence. Zayne wiped the blood from his face. The council stared at him as if seeing him for the first time. Barun whispered, You fight because you believe someone protects you. Zayne didn't deny it. Everything living deserves to be protected, he replied, quietly, and someone has to stand first. Krell raised his head, mandibles clicking in respect. Then human. We follow. Zayne looked toward the void where the serpents vanished. They'll be back. He breathed deep, steady, faithful, and next time, we won't be defending. His eyes burned with purpose. We'll be the ones knocking on the abyss. The station's artificial night cycle dimmed the lights, but sleep was a myth. The air walked heavy, every living being still trembling from their first glimpse of the abyss. Dr. Zayne Voss stood alone in the observation wing, hands gripping the railing overlooking space. The stars burned like defiant sparks against the darkness creeping at the edges of reality. Behind him, footsteps approached, controlled, disciplined. Admiral Krell, you bleed, the Varix warrior noted, mandibles ticking curiously. Zayne wiped the dried streak from his lip. Humans do that, sometimes. Krell stared out into space. You stood between the void and your prey. A pause. You would have died. Zayne's voice was quiet steel. Then every child in those domes would live. Krell's glowing eyes narrowed. The first signs of respect. You confuse us. Zayne Voss, you fight as if someone, or something, watches over you. Zayne didn't answer. He didn't need to, because the truth lived in every breath. His father's hand slipping from his grasp. The stars blurring with tears. Someone wanted you to live. That moment didn't haunt him. It guided him. Krell broke the silence. The council fears your kind will take command. Zayne turned to him fully. We didn't come here to command, he said. We came here because if we don't unite, every world burns. Krell tilted his head. And what do you ask in return? Zayne answered without hesitation. Trust. For the Varix, a warrior species, trust was rarer than peace. Krell clicked once, a warrior's vow. You have mine. The holographic table flickered to life as Zayne summoned the fleet commanders. Aliens of every species gathered, bruised, bandaged, shaken. Zayne paced like a commander preparing soldiers for hell. The abyss doesn't fear weapons, he began. They fear purpose. Ripple of unease, but also attention. They attack belief, identity, the very idea that life has meaning. He pointed to a swirling hollow of the void. Serpents. They are trying to erase everything the Creator breathed into existence. The room reacted, not with offense, but curiosity. Faith wasn't common in the galaxy, but after what they'd seen, the absence of faith seemed foolish. Zayne continued, voice bold. So we will hit them with what they can't unmake. He activated the map. A network of hidden outposts appeared. Terran strongholds camouflaged across star clusters. These are Psych Corps stations, never acknowledged in treaties. We will regroup there. Thirek raised a cautious appendage. Why hide them? Zayne locked eyes with him. Because humanity prepares for threats logic refuses to believe exist. No arrogance, just truth. Sudden alarm blast. Multiple breaches detected boarding signatures. Internal Krell's blade snapped from its gauntlet instantly. The hall plunged into red emergency light. Zayne's voice sharpened. They've found our fear. Black tendrils surged from ventilation shafts. Abyssal shades, shadows shaped like claws and needles. They weren't flesh, but living absence. Ambassadors screamed. Guards fired useless kinetic rounds. Bullets passed through like smoke. Zayne leapt over the table, smashing into one shade as he activated a neural disruptor. The creature shrieked, not a sound but a vibration of sorrow. Krell roared, slicing 3 shades with his serrated arm blade. They dissolved into dust. But more poured in. Thirek trembled. On the edge of panic, Zayne grabbed his shoulder. Breathe. Remember who you are. The elder strategist focused, fear flickering into resolve. Zayne turned toward the terrified soldiers. They feed on panic, so give them something else. He stepped forward, unarmed, staring the void. Creatures down. You will not decide our fate. The shades faltered, confused by the resistance, emotion. Surged through the neural strategy. Net, unity locking into place. Every soldier, every diplomat, every frightened being believed. The shades let out a psychic scream and then light a burst of radiant energy erupted from the net, faith weaponized. The shades evaporated, burned away by conviction. Silence slammed into the hall like an end to breath. Aliens stared at Zayne like he had just rewritten the laws of survival. Thirek managed to speak. You use belief as a weapon. Zayne shook his head, gently. No. He pointed at everyone. Present. We all did. Faerun's massive form lowered. A bow of reverence. Then teach us, he said. Teach us to fight like humans. Zayne exhaled, feeling the weight of that responsibility settle in his bones. I will. His implant buzzed an urgent message. From Earth Command, proceed to Psych Corps Citadel. Ansan Sectoral Command Authority. Yours, Zayne. Stared out at the dark once more. Someone wants us to win, he murmured. Not a hero's arrogance, a believer's certainty. Krell approached, armor still vibrating from battle. Human? His voice was unexpectedly quiet. Why do you not fear death? Zayne looked at him, eyes unwavering. Because death isn't the end. A heartbeat. It's the direction home. Krell considered this. The concept alien, yet powerful. You believe you cannot lose? Zayne shook his head slowly. No. I believe losing means nothing if we give up meaning first. His gaze hardened. The abyss wants us to think this universe is empty. He pointed to the wounded, the survivors helping each other up. But look at what we just proved. He stepped closer, voice a blade. As long as we believe in something greater, they can never win, Zayne. Turn to the council, leaders of worlds who had doubted humanity just hours ago. Prepare your fleets, he commanded, not just for battle, but for belief. He spoke a final promise, and quiet but echoing through every soul present. We will show the abyss that existence matters. Lights returned, systems stabilized. New hope, born from terror, sparked alive. War was coming, but this time, humanity was leading. Dr. Zayne Voss didn't expect the shuttle to descend this deep. The lift rails were shaking, drilling down through kilometers of reinforced alloy under the Terran embassy complex. What looked like a small diplomatic base above hit a titan below. General Soria stood beside him, hands clasped behind her back. Her expression held that rare mixture of fear and pride. "Welcome back to where you were made," she said quietly. Zayne swallowed, avoiding eye contact. "I was made on Earth, General. You were refined here." The shuttle halted with a metallic groan. Ahead, a circular blast door unsealed in segments, like a mechanical iris. Bright light blinded him. Then the Psych Corps citadel, a hidden city of war mines, rows of holochambers, psychological warfare drones suspended in fluid, neural data streams flowing like rivers of light, tactical monks, humans trained to meditate while simulating fleets of enemy ships. Everything built for one purpose: to win wars without firing a gun. Zayne's heartbeat faltered. Memories flooded. The cold, the darkness, the screaming. The day they sealed him into the hypnosis isolation tank. A voice. His father's voice. "Don't fear the shadows, Zayne. The one who made the stars sees you in them." He exhaled, grounding himself. Soria walked ahead, boots echoing. "The Abyss thinks humans are emotional disasters. They never understood our emotions are ammunition," Zayne finished. She nodded. "And you're the deadliest marksman alive." He didn't feel deadly. He felt unprepared. The Abyss wasn't just another species. They were a collapse of reason. Organisms that devoured logic and left only instinct behind. Their every action was chaos sculpted into war. And yet they feared humanity. Why? Soria led him into the strategic core, a colossal sphere of holoscreens forming a map of the galaxy. Hundreds of analysts worked silently. Zayne's attention locked on the projection, the abyssal fleet. It was moving. Not toward Terran worlds, not toward Cherith collective space, but toward neutral systems, populations that couldn't defend themselves. Soria crossed her arms. "They want to bait us. And if humans intervene," Zayne whispered, "they claim justification to exterminate us." It was a trap, the most important trap in galactic history, and Psych Corps had to spring it, without firing a weapon. "Do you still pray, Dr. Voss?" Zayne stiffened at the question. He turned to see Admiral Relok, towering and reptilian, one of the few alien leaders still willing to work with humans. "Sometimes," Zayne replied. "Why do you ask?" Relok blinked his vertical eyes. "Because after what you did to the Koru Armada, many of my people believe your god intervenes." Zayne shook his head. "Psychological exploitation. Perception warfare. Nothing divine." Relok leaned forward. "Then why did your father raise his hands to the sky before dying in battle? And the enemy's flagship malfunctioned seconds later. Coincidence?" Zayne's throat tightened. "Maybe someone wanted me to live." The words slipped out before he could guard them. Relok studied him, not with suspicion, but curiosity. "Emotion and faith," the alien murmured. "Two forces we never learned to weaponize." Until humanity arrived. Soria tapped a console. A massive containment cylinder rose from the floor, cryo-sealed, dripping with frost. Inside floated a dark capsule with neural ports. Zayne stepped back instinctively. "No, not that. We shut the program down." "We resurrected it," Soria corrected. The capsule hissed, vents releasing vapor. "Project Orpheus." The words glowed across its surface. Zayne's voice went hollow. "You want me to enter again?" "It nearly destroyed my mind. But it gave you the ability to enter theirs," Soria replied. "To infiltrate alien consciousness. Command fear, rewrite instinct. It's mind invasion," Zayne spat. "It's the only chance we have," she snapped. A silence fell between them, heavy enough to crush breath. Zayne looked up at the citadel ceiling. The holographic stars glimmered back. "How much of me will be left afterward?" he whispered. Soria softened just slightly. "Enough to win." Suddenly alarms blared. Holoscreens flickered violently. "Priority broadcast incoming," an analyst shouted. A visual resolved on the main sphere, grainy, distant. Cherith refugee station. Explosions tearing through its hull. People, alien civilians, drifting helpless into space. A single abyssal warship loomed like a silent maw. Zayne clenched his fists. His humanity burned. Relok looked horrified. This was a sanctuary world. No military. No threat. "It was chosen," Zayne said darkly, "because they knew we'd care. Emotion, compassion, empathy. The very things the Abyss claimed made humans unfit for war were the exact things they weaponized to provoke humanity into one. They want us to watch," Zayne growled. The feed zoomed into the station airlock. A terrified alien child clung to a fallen adult, breathing fast, face covered in soot. Zayne stepped closer. "Please look away," he whispered, as if the child could hear. Then a bright flash, abyssal harvest beam. The child was gone. Dead. Zayne's vision blurred with fury. His body trembled. He felt every conscience across the citadel tense like a drawn bow. Soria spoke with finality. "Now you understand. The Abyss won't negotiate. They won't honor treaties. They don't recognize life." She pointed at the Orpheus capsule. "Go show them what a human mind can do." Zayne's hand brushed the cold metal of the capsule. Fear churned in his stomach. His greatest enemy wasn't the Abyss, it was losing himself. He looked again at the stars above, projections of the heavens, but beautiful nonetheless, too beautiful to be accident. He whispered a single sentence his father taught him. "Guide me through the darkness you created me to fight." Not a speech, not a sermon, just a soldier talking to the one who made him. Relock watched, silent, stunned by the quiet ritual. Soria opened the capsule. "We begin in 60 seconds. Zayne stepped forward. Breathing steadier now. "Tell the galaxy," he said. "Emotion has a firing range." He climbed in, the seal locked shut. Darkness swallowed him. Orpheus began to awake. Dr. Zayne Voss felt the capsule tighten around him like a coffin. The neural ports inserted with electric burns across his scalp. Then, silence. No heartbeat. No breath. Only thought. A synthetic voice echoed in the void. Cognitive link initiation. Dr. Zayne Voss. Target. Abyssal command consciousness. His stomach dropped. They weren't connecting him to a single mind. They were connecting him to the hive. Zayne steadied his own pulse through sheer will. His father's voice flickered in memory. Courage begins when fear has already won. Then the darkness shattered. The abyssal mind was not a place. It was a storm. Screams looped forever. Instincts stabbed without reason. Images of hunger, slaughter, and evolutionary chaos rushed like a tidal wave. 1,000 voices shrieked, "Devour the light. Fear is weapon order must die." Zayne staggered. Here, even mental weakness was death. The abyss wasn't evil. It simply worshipped entropy. He saw glimpses. Abyss hatcheries birthing soldiers with no language but instinct. Civilizations burned because structure offended them. Stars consumed not for power, but for silence. A pure war against meaning itself. Zayne forced his way up the psychic current. No emotion, no humanity. They will break you. The Psych Corps mantra. But something inside rebelled. His father again. "Don't erase your heart, Zayne. It's your compass." He embraced the fury, the grief, the compassion, and the storm shifted. A presence noticed him, colossal, watching. The abyssal admiral, a consciousness built to command extinction. It spoke not with words, but through invasion, it tried to overwrite him. Visions slammed into his skull. Corpses of species that resisted. Humans dissected in simulations, screaming without sound. Earth, burning. Zayne's teeth clenched until blood filled his mouth. "You think emotion weakens us?" he hissed. The Admiral responded with a cascade of psychic images. Abyss warriors ripping into Terran soldiers who hesitated to shoot civilians as shields. A mockery of humanity's mercy. Zayne's hands curled into fists. "You see hesitation," he growled. "I see choice." His heart ignited. A flare of identity so bright it scorched the psychic plane. The Admiral recoiled, afraid. The Abyss could predict instinct, but a man guided by belief? That was chaos they couldn't compute. Zayne's voice thundered in the void. "We choose every breath, every sacrifice, every mercy. We choose what kind of universe exists tomorrow." The Abyss shrieked. The storm spiking, Zayne unleashed everything the Psych Corps hated. The love he felt for those who died. The hope he refused to. Tracy, the belief that someone greater designed him to fight for meaning, emotion. Wasn't a flaw, it was a supernova. The storm buckled. The Admiral's mind twisted in panic. Zayne pushed deeper, showing them something alien to their nature. Children, of every species playing under artificial suns. Soldiers praying before battle in a dozen languages. Strangers, risking their lives to save the weak. They had no evolutionary answer for empathy. The abyss broke. Formation. In the real galaxy, abyssal ships faltered. Fleets wavered. Command links fractured as fear. True, thinking fear, they entered there. Zayne drove toward the center, the core of the Admiral's consciousness. But then he hit the memory, the refugee child from the broadcast. The one who died, the abyss replayed it. Endlessly. Forcing him to watch, his knees buckled. Breath rasped. Rage poisoned clarity. He almost snapped. When he heard a whisper, "Guide me through the darkness you created me to fight," not his father's voice, his a prayer born from pain. Zayne surged up with a roar. He shattered the Admiral's psychic helm like glass. The abyss screamed across light years, fleet-wide. Disarray, warships colliding, starfire, turning into friendly destruction. Psych Corps analysts watching from the Citadel gasped. Zayne Voss alone had crippled a civilization's command via emotion. Pain hit like a lightning strike. Zayne's vision blurred with static. He felt the capsule trembling. Alarms blaring far away. The psych link was collapsing. He had pushed too far, his identity frayed, memories shredding, self-dissolving. Then, a hand rested on his shoulder, not physically, spiritually. His father's voice warm as starlight. "Hold on. You're not done shining yet." The void cooled. Chaos receded. Zayne held his mind together with the simplest truth he knew. I am human, and that matters. The darkness folded back. Reality returned. He gasped awake, screaming. Metal walls around him again. Capsule lid open. Technicians panicking. General Soria leaned over him, eyes wet with relief. "You did it," she whispered. "You made them afraid." But Zayne barely heard her. His vision swayed. He tasted blood. His body convulsed, and he realized something. He was still connected. A psychic tether, thin but unbroken. Trailing into the abyss, he could hear their whispers. The light must die. Human must be erased. The one who guides him must fall. Zayne forced a weak smile. Sounds like we finally scared the devil. The moment Dr. Zayne Voss stepped out of the Orpheus capsule, he felt eyes, countless eyes, still watching him from someplace unreachable. Like shadows clinging to his soul, the psychic tether remained, humming like a predator's breath on the back of his neck. General Soria guided him toward the medical deck. "Easy," she murmured. "You're barely holding your neurons together." He tried to speak, but his voice cracked. We need to." The Citadel shuddered. A booming explosion echoed through the underground structure. Sirens blared. Lights turned blood red. Soria's eyes widened. "They found us." Zayne staggered as images flashed across his vision. Not his memories, but theirs. Abyssal scouts cloaking into Terran territory, slipping through gravitational shadows. The abyss wasn't waiting. They were already here. Admiral Raylock stormed into the corridor behind them, scales flaring with alarm. "We detected a zero-space rupture directly above the embassy. A single abyssal craft just emerged at the surface." Zayne stiffened. "They sent one ship?" Soria cursed. "It's not an attack, it's a message." Another psychic spike slammed into Zayne's skull. He tasted smoke and felt flames dance under his skin. The abyssal admiral's presence glared into his mind like a blade. "We come for you, the Lightbreaker must die," Zayne stumbled. Raylock caught him before he fell. "Doctor, what do they want?" He swallowed the fear blocking his lungs. "Me." The three sprinted toward a maglev elevator. Zayne forced his legs to steady as adrenaline beat back exhaustion. As the lift shot upward, he heard above, war. Immediate and merciless. Thunderous cracking. Metal twisting. Screams. The station quaked again, this time closer. The doors burst open to chaos. Terran embassy staff evacuating through collapsing corridors. Soldiers firing suppression rounds upward where something savage tore through the ceiling. Abyssal drones dropped like obsidian serpents, ripping into defenses. One soldier pointed. "Dr. Voss." "Sir, you have to get to the shuttle bay." He didn't finish. A drone's talon slashed him away. Raylock roared, his claws severing the drone's head in a clean strike. Soria barked orders. "Fallback positions. Protect Voss at all costs." The air swirled as a cloaking field shimmered, then dissolved into a figure descending like an executioner, tall, void black armor, eyes glowing sickly green, an abyssal executor, a psychic assassin bred to murder minds. It pointed at Zayne. Solitary light, must be erased. Zayne's hands curled, his survival instincts igniting. But the executor was too fast. He felt its mental probe spear into his brain. His memories began tearing free. His father's smile dissolving. His mother's voice shredded. His very self an unraveling. No, he gasped, knees crashing to the ground. The executor leaned close, whispering in thought. Fear is end. Zayne spat blood, fury, overpowering agony. No. His voice deepened, not from anger, but conviction. Fear is where courage begins. He thrust his mind outward, like a sun erupting from eclipse, his emotions, love, grief, faith, blasted across the psychic plane. The executor shrieked, staggering. Relock seized the moment, impaling the creature through the chest. Its body writhed, dissolving into corrosive mist. Silence lasted one heartbeat. Then the ceiling exploded. Black tendrils slammed down, tearing the embassy open to the night sky. Through the dust, Zayne looked up, at the abyssal warship hovering above like a gaping wound in space. A voice from everywhere and nowhere. Lightbreaker, come to us. A tractor beam locked onto Zayne, dragging him upward. His boots scraped the floor. He clung to a broken railing but was ripped free inch by inch. Soria reached out. Zayne! Raylock held her back, his voice cold with realism. If we pursue, we die. We need strategy. Zayne felt his feet lift off the ground completely, pulled toward death. He closed his eyes. Someone. Help me. No answer came. He wasn't special. He wasn't chosen. He was just... Then he remembered his father's hand resting on his shoulder in the abyss. You're not done shining. Zayne stopped resisting. If they wanted him, he would make them regret it. He turned his body into the pull, using the tractor beam's own forcing, and shot, upward like a fired bullet. Straight into the beast, the world inverted. Dark metal jaws sealed shut behind him. The tractor beam died. The floor under him pulsed like a heartbeat. He stood inside the abyssal warship's core. Lights dripped from the ceiling like sickly green rain, illuminating a cathedral of flesh and circuitry, and at the center the abyssal admiral. Its form towered, supported by spinal cables and tendons of alloy. It looked like a corpse sculpted into a god, a mind-given claws. The psychic tether tightened. Choking thought, it spoke without breath. You are threat, you have created order within chaos, you must be extinguished. Zayne breathed shakily. You fear what you don't understand. We understand enough. You believe yourself guided by a silent maker, by a star thing that does not speak. Zayne's voice cracked, but held strong. He speaks. In survival, in courage, in the will to fight for life. The Admiral's head twisted, confused. Good. Zayne smiled. Blood smeared across his teeth. You made one mistake. The Admiral leaned forward, towering. What error? Zayne stepped closer, eyes blazing. You didn't bring your friends. He clenched his fists as the psychic plane ignited. His emotions surged like a tidal wave, stronger than before. The Admiral recoiled in shock as Zayne hurled a psychic scream. I don't fight alone. The warship trembled. Outside, Terran ships decloaked, Psych Corps reinforcements, hidden defense fleet, humanity answering a single soul in danger. The Admiral's confident posture broke. Zayne whispered, Someone wanted me to live. Dr. Zayne Voss stood face to face with the abyssal admiral inside the living cathedral of the warship. The air vibrated with malevolence. The entire vessel seemed to watch him, walls expanding and contracting like lungs dripping with black ichor. Outside, the void flashed with Terran warships decloaking. The Psych Corps vanguard had arrived, but they couldn't blast him free. Zayne was already too deep. The Admiral's voice grated inside his skull. You will break. Human light is fragile. Zayne's mind flickered with weakness. The Orpheus link had left cracks. Every heartbeat felt like a hammer striking glass. but something hotter than fear pushed him forward. You attack civilians, refugees, children. His voice sharpened into steel. That's not strength. That's terror pretending to be a strategy. The Admiral's face contorted, not angry, but confused. We do not feel terror. We are terror. Zayne stepped closer. If you truly believed that, you wouldn't have come for me yourself. A ripple passed through the Admiral's consciousness, a tremor of doubt. It didn't understand emotion. The one battlefield. The abyss could not dominate. The Admiral raised a limb of razor bone, pointing at Zayne's forehead. A crackling psychic chain burst from its arm, anchoring into his skull. Agony detonated behind his eyes. His knees slammed to the floor. You are singular. We are legend. You cannot win. Images flooded Zayne's mind. Cities burning. Oceans boiling, stars collapsing. Earth splintered into dust. The abyss rewriting creation into silence. But then, another image broke through. His father, kneeling in a ruined temple, whispering under the shattered sky. There is always someone listening. Zayne gasped, not in pain, but in rebellion. He ripped the psychic chain taut, dragging the Admiral a step toward him. The creature recoiled. It had never felt pulled before. Zayne whispered, Legion or not, you bleed. A distant call echoed in Zayne's mind, Soria's voice through a neural implant. Zayne, we are locking quantum lances on the warship. We need coordinates to hit the Admiral. Zayne's pulse spiked. If those lances hit the wrong chamber, he'd be vaporized. He responded through clenched teeth. Track my mind link. Aim at the strongest psychic signal. Soria's reply was ice-cold resolve. Stand by. Your courage won't be wasted. Zayne smiled faintly. Don't make a memorial just yet. The Admiral sensed the threat. Its claws hooked into Zayne's mind. You would sacrifice yourself to damage us? Zayne's voice shook, not with fear but certainty. I'll sacrifice anything to protect life. The Admiral paused, its aura warping. The abyss had no concept of sacrifice, no reason to protect another, no belief that life meant anything. This human, this fragile, emotional anomaly and was introducing an impossible thought. Meaning. Zayne felt the tremor spread through the hive, doubt infecting a civilization. He drove the blade of truth deeper. You fear I'm right, the Admiral shrieked. Its mental pressure spiking, order is weak. Purpose is lie. The Maker abandoned you, Zayne roared back, voice cracking. Then why am I still alive? The ship itself froze, every abyssal node halted. The question was poison. Reloc's voice pierced the comms link. Lances charged. Impact in 20 seconds. Zayne rose, body trembling with exhaustion. He wrapped both hands around the psychic chain still lodged in his mind. You call yourself a god of fear. He yanked the chain, forcing the Admiral face to face. But I've seen men pray in collapsing ships, and they still believed tomorrow mattered. The Admiral recoiled. Thrashing in panic, Zayne whispered for only himself to hear. Guide me again. Just one last time. He braced his stance. Fire! The quantum lances tore through space, beams brighter. Then the sun's birth. They punched into the warship's skull straight at the Admiral. The chamber erupted, a supernova of pure psychic light. Zayne screamed as the tether snapped, the Admiral's consciousness ripping apart. Flames roared through the living walls. Alien bodies turned to ash. Zayne stumbled. The floor beneath him cracked. Space yawned open like a mouth. He was falling into the void, silence, cold, weightlessness, stars, wheeled past his fading vision, his lungs shut tight. So, this is it. Then, a shadow eclipsed the stars. A shuttle, Terran. Markings and diving toward him, the hatch slid open. Mid-flight, a strong arm shot. Out and seized his wrist. General Soria, face fierce, eyes burning with relief. She gritted her teeth as she hauled him inside. You're not dying until Earth says you can retire. The hatch sealed. Zayne collapsed, coughing. Raylock loomed over him, scanning for injuries. Your faith in life, the alien said softly, is extraordinary. Zayne, barely conscious, whispered, It's not faith in life. He gazed at the stars through the viewport. Wide, infinite, designed. It's faith in the one who gave it meaning. Relock had no words, but he understood. Outside, the abyssal flagship burned, a wound in space the Hive would never forget. One human mind had forced an empire to feel fear and doubt. The war wasn't over. But for the first time, humanity was no longer prey. They were the light in the darkness, and the darkness was trembling. Dr. Zayne Voss stood at the forward viewport of the astral sanctum, humanity's deepest encoded command carrier. Outside, the stars flickered, then vanished, as if the universe itself were blinking. Except, it wasn't blinking. Something was eclipsing them. A sound vibrated through the hull, like a choir. Out of phase with existence, abyss fleets emerged, not from hyperspace, but from the void between equations. Their ships warped like obsidian swords bending into reality. The air tasted electric, charged with static dread. Captain Reese muttered, "How many?" Zayne counted the silhouettes. "Enough to erase a civilization," he whispered. His pulse thundered. And yet, calm rooted in his bones, his father's words from childhood echoed. "Fear doesn't stop death, Zayne, but belief. Belief can move the universe." He inhaled. Quiet. Intentional. Just one heartbeat. One prayer rising without words. The tactical hollow ignited. Thousands of abyss dreadnoughts formed a planetary siege web around Earth. Their admiral, the Void Scribe, appeared as a hologram of roiling black smoke, voice like a collapsing sun. "Humanity, your emotions are a contagion. Your devotion a glitch. You will kneel and be purged." Zayne stepped forward. "Our emotions are our strength. Our belief is our savants." The Void Scribe laughed, like tearing metal. "Your God does not reach this quadrant." Zayne's answer felt like warm gravity. "Then explain why we're still alive." Even the alien's fractal eyes twitched. The bridge lights dimmed. Every monitor glitched. Then a single line burned into the displays. "The truth is not in void. The truth is above it. Nobody." Typed it. The sanctum seized, not failing and processing. Zayne froze. This was the encrypted project. Revelation trigger. Written ages ago by the founding Terrans. A spark in his mind. A memory. His father placing a hand on his shoulder under the night sky. "You think all this happened by accident, son?" A design suddenly mapped itself in his neural HUD. The Citadel Defense Chorus. A lattice of stations hidden in Earth's orbit, disguised as debris and rock. Zayne's voice sharpened. "Prepare for activation." Lieutenant Jian shook. "Sir, we don't know what it does." Zayne grinned. "Teeth-catching starlight. That's what faith is for." He pressed authorized. Thousands of cloaked masses around. Earth unfolded. They weren't stations. They were resonant monoliths, instruments carved from unknown alloys. Pointed inward like a global cathedral, a harmonic wave burst. Light poured like liquid auroras. The abyss ships shuddered, their living metal recoiling. The Void Scribe howled. "What weapon is this? What have you made?" Zayne stepped forward, voice unwavering. "You claimed our God doesn't reach you, but he reaches everywhere there is existence." The monoliths pulsed, and the abyss bled light. Their ships cracked open, hulls fracturing like glass under holy resonance. The strike involved no bullets, no fire, just truth, a victory carved by belief. Zayne's neural link bloomed, a hidden message from the earliest Psych Corps architects. Emotion is evidence of design. If we feel, we are not accidents. When the enemy confronts belief, their logic fractures and their war collapses. He saw it. The abyss wasn't a species, it was a conclusion, a civilization that erased faith until it erased purpose, until it became void. Their hatred of humanity was fear of the reminder. Creation implies a creator. The Void Scribe screamed, a sound like dying equations. "Stop believing." Zayne's answer was a whisper, but the whole bridge heard it. Not a chance. Monoliths aligned to a final surge of radiant frequency. The Abyss Armada turned, not in retreat, in surrender. Their ships dimmed, drifting lifeless. The Void Scribe flickered, losing shape. "How?" "You are chaos." Zayne shook his head. "We are human. We love, we hope, we fight because we care, and we believe." His eyes closed, heart steady. and that makes us unstoppable. The alien's essence rippled, then dissolved into nothingness. Silence. Stars returned. Earth shone beneath them, whole, breathing, forgiven once more. Crew members stared, some in awe, some in tears. Lieutenant Jian exhaled. Not luck. Zayne finished for him. Someone wanted us to live. Zayne looked toward the blue planet, humanity's fragile miracle. He didn't celebrate. He reflected. War wasn't won by force today. It was won by faith in something. Higher in faith in ourselves. Captain Reese stepped beside him. So, those monoliths, a gift from old Terrans? Zayne smiled softly. Or a gift through them. He didn't know if the maker signed his name in starlight, but tonight Zayne felt seen. Humanity, emotional, irrational, stubborn, had done the impossible again. The universe would remember this day. The void looked upward and flinched. The war was over, but the universe had only just begun to understand humanity. Dr. Zayne Voss stood alone on the observation deck of the astral sanctum, watching recovery fleets glide through a peaceful sky. Repair drones swarmed broken hulls, patching what once seemed impossible to heal. Silence wasn't emptiness now. It was gratitude. His reflection in the glass showed a man forever changed, not by power, but by purpose. The door behind him hissed open. Captain Reese approached with solemn pride. The Senate confirmed your transfer, Reese said. Earth wants you back, Zayne swallowed. After everything, you think I can return home and pretend I'm just a civilian? Reese laid a steady hand on his shoulder. No, Zayne. They don't want you to stop being who you are. They want to honor it. A shuttle keyed for atmospheric descent waited in the hangar. Zayne inhaled and made the choice. Earth's blue curve filled the windows as he descended. Oceans glimmering like liquid sapphire. Continents stitched with city lights. His heartbeat quickened the closer he came. A landing platform in New Geneva welcomed him with roaring crowds. Humans, diplomats, and even former Abyss envoys, now refugees seeking meaning beyond void. One stepped forward, tall, obsidian skin softened by new curiosity. Human Voss, it said, voice no longer distorted by arrogance. We have known silence since the beginning of our age, and never wondered if silence had a creator. You made us wonder. Zayne nodded gently. Wonder is the first step to wisdom. The alien bowed, an act once culturally impossible. Humanity had changed, more than itself today. As the crowd surged forward, cheering his name, Zayne saw one face that stopped his breath. His father. The old man's beard had more gray now. His stance was humble, not as the strict preacher of Zayne's childhood, but as a father filled with awe for his son. No titles. No ranks, just two souls meeting halfway. Zayne spoke first, voice cracking. I finally understood what you meant, Dad. About everything. About belief. His father smiled, the kind that carried galaxies of love. I never asked you to understand, he replied. I only asked you to look up once in a while. They embraced. Firm, unguarded, real. Applause washed over them. But Zayne only cared about the steady heartbeat against his shoulder. Later, inside the World Council chamber, Zayne addressed every system-linked world and allied species. We have proven emotion isn't weakness, he said. It is proof that life means something. Screens filled with faces, human and alien alike, listening with hope instead of fear. Every tear shed is a refusal to surrender. Every prayer whispered is a declaration of purpose. Let this galaxy never again call faith irrational. He paused, letting silence carry the weight. We didn't win because we are violent. We won because we are alive. The treaty passed unanimously. The abyss of logic had been defeated by the light of meaning. That night, Zayne wandered a quiet hill overlooking the lights of the city. The same kind of hill where he once stood as a boy beside his father. He looked up, not as a scientist, not as a soldier, but as a human. Stars shimmered like scattered promises. The universe, vast and wild, didn't feel cold anymore. Someone behind him spoke, soft as wind through grass. Beautiful, aren't they? The voice was unfamiliar yet comforting. A civilian technician, perhaps, or maybe someone sent by command. But the words that followed felt deeper. All those stars. All those chances. Do you truly think they exist without intention? Zayne smiled, and slowly, "No," he said, eyes still lifted to the heavens. "I don't think anything this magnificent is an accident." The stranger nodded once and stepped away. Zayne didn't turn, didn't need to. He already knew. He wasn't alone in that belief. New humans would grow up hearing the story. How a young doctor with a heart full of doubt saved a galaxy, with the one thing he refused to surrender. Faith in the unseen and faith in humanity. Ships were being renamed. A diplomacy academy. The Voss Institute had opened. The abyss, once a nightmare, now studied emotion like a sacred language. One former abyss child looked up at Zayne during a lesson and asked, "If emotions are divine, does that mean we can find the one who made us?" Zayne crouched down, voice warm. "You don't find him alone, we search together." For the first time since the war, he felt tears slip past his resolve, tears of purpose. Zayne walked home, real soil beneath his feet. Cool night air filling his lungs. He whispered, not to the stars, but to the presence beyond them, "Thank you for letting me live long enough to understand." A gentle breeze answered, brushing his cheeks like a celestial hand. He smiled. The universe had once declared humans unfit for war. Tonight, it honored them as its bravest defenders. Humanity had given the void a reason to look up, and in that upward glance, faith conquered fear. The stars above Helion Prime shimmered like a million watchful eyes, judging every empire gathered below. The Galactic Coalition summit, the largest assembly of intelligent species in known space, was meant to be a symbol of peace. A final step toward unified command against the rising abyssal threat devouring systems at the edge of the galaxy. Instead, it had become a courtroom, and humanity was the accused. Dr. Zayne Voss stood perfectly still in the central forum, the eyes of 40 alien species boring into him. He kept his breathing level, but his heart hammered like artillery fire. His dark Terran uniform contrasted sharply with the shimmering robes and scaled armor of the delegates around him. They think we're children, he thought. Dangerous and unpredictable children. From the high dais, the coalition chair, a towering tentacled Girak named Vyrun, slammed his gavel. Humanity's case will be heard now. Silence washed through the chamber. Admiral Krell of the Varix, all jagged armor and glowing yellow eyes, stepped forward with predatory intent. "The evidence is clear," he hissed, his translator smoothing his voice into chilling calm. "Humans are too reckless, emotional, and volatile to be trusted with command authority. They start wars when diplomacy fails. They sacrifice logic for hope. They act irrationally." Soft murmurs from the alien crowd. Agreement, disdain, mistrust. Zayne did not flinch. His job wasn't to show anger or pride. His job was to win the psychological war without letting them know the war had begun. Krell continued, "Human fleets will no longer be permitted to hold leadership roles. They will fight only under the guidance of more stable minds. A blade disguised as diplomacy, a humiliation delivered in public." Zayne's fists tightened behind his back. He looked up into the starlit dome. This can't just be an accident, he thought. Someone gave humanity this fire, this will. He inhaled deeply. Emotion is not a weakness. Emotion is what keeps us alive. Vyrun gestured coldly. "Dr. Zayne Voss, you may speak for Earth." Zayne stepped forward, into the center of the galaxy's judgment. He didn't speak loudly. He didn't need to. "You condemn us for feeling," he began. "But when your colonies fall and your armies break, who do you call?" He let the silence answer for him, because the silence remembered. "For centuries," Zayne continued, "humans have survived extinction by refusing to accept it. Fear made us cautious. Anger made us fierce. And hope." He looked each alien in the eyes. "Hope is why we still exist," Krell scoffed. "Pretty speeches do not change psychology. Your species lets passion override logic. You are a danger to yourselves and to others. Zayne's voice softened, not weak but sharp as a scalpel. Yes, we cry, we fear, we love, we rage. He stepped closer, and that is why we win. A ripple of discomfort moved through the room. The Varix Admiral's mandibles twitched. Agitation. Your emotions, Zayne said, terrify you. Ours empower us. The tribunal erupted, in arguments, translation devices struggling to keep pace with shouting. The summit was fracturing, fast. A glimmer from Zayne's wrist caught his eye, a silent pulse on his neural implant. Signal received operation status. Standby. Zayne's jaw tightened. The Psych Corps was ready. He had hoped diplomacy would work. But the galaxy had made its decision. Then humanity will make theirs. Va'ruun pounded the gavel again. This session will recess while we deliberate. He never finished. The great chamber trembled, a low, resonant hum shaking the walls. Security shields flickered. Defense turrets retracted unexpectedly. Alarm screamed. Krell spun, his armor crackling. What is this? Zayne didn't smile, but he wanted to. Helion Prime's skies flashed, an aurora of electronic warfare igniting across the horizon. Data streams surged like rivers of light, infiltrating alien systems with invisible precision. Every alien comms device blinked, glitched, then died. Across the galaxy, Coalition war fleets received thousands of false orders. Retreat from the front lines, power down weapon systems, report catastrophic engine failures, request medical evacuations, an elegant chaos. Zayne's voice remained calm. As chief of Terran psychological operations, he said, it was my duty to prepare a defense if negotiations failed. Krell's glowing eyes widened with fury. You dare attack us? Attack? Zayne tilted his head. No, just a reminder. He stepped closer, voice low, controlled rage wrapped in velvet. You declared us too unstable for war, too emotional for command. He leaned in. So tell me, Admiral, how does it feel to lose fleets without a single shot fired? All around them, alien leaders stared in horror at malfunctioning holograms and collapsing data feeds. Zayne placed a hand over his heart. Not luck. Never luck. Someone wanted us to survive. Someone wanted humanity to be ready for this moment. Lines from his childhood surfaced. When you look at the stars, remember. They were placed there with purpose. Krell snarled. Turn off your virus now, or you are not in command here, Zayne interrupted. Not anymore. Silence again. But this time, they were listening. Zayne turned to the tribunal. Emotion isn't weakness. It's our weapon. It makes us unpredictable, unstoppable. You tried to shame us for being human. His eyes hardened. We use what we are. The summit's starfield dome flickered, now displaying every alien fleet drifting helplessly in space, paralyzed by human code. Zayne stepped back. You wanted proof? There it is. For the first time in hours, his heartbeat slowed. He breathed in, breathed out. His faith and resolve steadied him. This is who we are. Children of will, children of purpose, and the galaxy. Just remembered.